Welcome to Fantasy Football Hub for the next episode in the My Team series. Today, I'm joined by a man who got a 50k finish last season, but you may know him more from his incredibly detailed and very, very helpful threads on Twitter. Jian is going to be revealing his team to us today. Mate, how are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm excited to be here for the new season. I'm looking forward to this series as well.
Me too, mate. Me too. It's coming thick and fast now, only a few weeks out. You know what, mate? Let's jump straight into it. Of course, as always, building this live on Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool. If you want to do the same and get your team rated, the link to do so for free is down in the description. Jian, start us off. Who have you got in goal?
Okay, so far I've got Pickford in goal. Now this will become Flecken if he gets the number one spot, but until then, I'm going for Pickford. The reason being, I think in the first 8 fixtures, they've only got 2 particularly hard ones, which is Villa away and Arsenal at home. So apart from those, I quite like the fixtures. And if he can rack up about 3 clean sheets in those, given his save potential and the bonus he can accumulate, then that'll be a very good return and somewhat realistic as well. I think now Deitch has had pre-season, there'll be a lot more structured this Everton side. There'll be a lot more geared to what Deitch wants, and I think there'll be a much improved defensive unit as compared to last season.
Makes sense. And are you partnering him with a rotating keeper, or are you going for a budget 4 million?
No, I'm going for a 4 million. I like to kind of just put the funds elsewhere and not spend too much money on the goalkeepers. I think every year we kind of get a 4.5 million gem, literally every single year. We've had Martinez in the past, who's been the best of the lot, and I think I'd rather try and nail that one than play a bit safer in this category, because I think there's significant upside elsewhere.
Sure enough. So, it could be anyone. Who do you want to be for now?
Areola.
Yeah,
we'll
let's go Areola. Let's move on. Let's get into the defense. Now, a name that I'm really interested to see if he's in your team or not, because he is in the majority of teams, Trent. But a lot of people are now coming around to the idea that maybe that 3 million or so may be better spent elsewhere in your team. Is he in your team?
He's not, and he hasn't been. I actually haven't built too many drafts. I think I'm only on my 3rd proper draft.
Okay.
And he's very unlikely to get my team. Don't get me wrong, I think he's going to have a fantastic season. And if he plays in the double pivot and Liverpool sign a new 6 to replace Fabinho, I think he could do incredibly well this season. He obviously played at 6 yesterday in a 4-3-3 in a lone pivot, which is really not advantageous for his owners. But even if he plays in the double pivot, it's just the fact that he's just so expensive. And the caliber of options at 5.5, which is a whole 2.5 below, they're so good, as we'll come on to, and that kind of is what my defense is made of. I think fading Trent is just probably, in my opinion, the optimal strategy, because not only do you get great defenders, but you also get great midfielders as a result.
Right, well, there we go. Great to hear. So who have you got instead then?
So I've got the 2 5 million gems that everyone else does. I've got Gabriel and Estepinian. I mean, both have got 3 games to start the season, which are fantastic. Both have goal threat. Gabriel in the air is exceptional. And I think Estepinian, especially given De Zerbi likes his asymmetric system and pushing the left up a bit more. We saw it last season. His underlapping runs, they're so good. And if his finishing could improve a bit, then he could rack up a few goals as well. So I really like those 2. They come in cheap as well. And then I assume you just want the 3rd starting one.
Go for it, yeah.
Okay, the 3rd starting one for the first week will be John Stones.
Nice.
He's imperious in the air as well. He's a threat from set pieces, probably a little bit underrated. I know, obviously, they've just signed Gvardiol and they have such a strong defensive unit. But I think given that he can play in the pivot alongside Rodri and that he can play across either the right centre-back or the centre-back role, or even like a right back in a 4-3-3, he's pretty much nailed. I'd say he's still the best defender, even though Gvardiol's coming for a world record fee, I imagine. So for me, he's there. With City's good fixtures as well.
I think you're actually one of the first guests that we've had on this series that have gone for a City defender. And I don't know if you've seen or look at the AI or the recommended transfers on Fantasy Football Hub's website, but they always say go for a City defender. Yeah. Statistically, they're the best, really good fixtures. If Stones is nailed, as you say, that could be an absolute gem right there. Okay, let's leave the bench for now, unless you're playing 4 at the back.
No, I'm playing 3 at the back.
Okay, let's get into the midfield then.
Okay, so we will start with the United duo. Yeah. I'm going Rashford and Fernandes. This is kind of a short-term play. Rashford's, well, I'm not sure which one I'll sell eventually, but it's more of a short-term play to target the first 3. I like Wolves at home and Forest at home in 1 and 3, because I think especially Forest, there's goals there to be had. And against Tottenham in game week 2, especially given that they're going away to Spurs. Under the new system that Spurs are going to play, I imagine a lot of high-scoring games, a very open Spurs team. And I think 2 people that can really capitalize on that are Rashford and Bruno. Bruno more from his creative aspects and like late third-man runs, and then Rashford obviously going in behind. So I think those 2 for the first 3 weeks at their price could be like gold dust. And then my strategy is actually to go Son maybe in like game week 4. And go off on
a little
them.
fixture swing.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes a lot of sense. You don't have to hold on to these players forever. Obviously, it's not good to book transfers in. It can be a little bit problematic down the road. But as you say, those first 3 are really good. Arsenal away, Brighton at home, less good. There's an option there, isn't there? And at those price points, you can move to anyone.
Yeah, 100%. And I've got a decent bench in comparison to most rosters I've seen. So I think I should be able to roll in game week 2 to put me in a strong position for 3 and 4.
Sure thing. Okay, who have you got next in midfield?
Then I've got another duo, this time the Arsenal duo. I think Saka, pretty much every engaged manager is probably going to have Saka. On penalties, not rotation prone, in the form of his life. He looks amazing. He's just getting better and better. I think that's just a sure pick. So I'm going to go with him. And then the other is Martinelli. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I like him more than Odegaard and Jesus. One being that he comes in 0.5 cheaper than Odegaard. I like the fact that he has more goal threat than Odegaard. I think it's just a surer way to a higher ceiling and bigger holes. So when he has a good game, he can really, really return for you. And the other thing is I'm unsure of Odegaard's role this season. Arteta's such a good manager, and given the profiles they have in this squad, there's so much tactical flexibility with what they can do. And with Havertz coming in, I'm very interested to see how he lines up and how he uses Odegaard. I wouldn't be surprised if he uses him slightly deeper just to kind of help progress the earlier phases of the play, because he is such a good player. And as such, I kind of prefer Martinelli.
Yeah, you're right. I guess, Havertz is a completely different profile of player to a Xhaka. Who knows how that will work in build-up. Makes complete sense. Guess it's one to have a look at in pre-season and wait and see.
Definitely.
Okay, then. Who's next?
The last one, so I've got Solly March. Now, this is probably my only one where I'm going a bit punty. It's a toss-up between him, Matoma, and Mbeumo. Only reason... I'm not super keen on Brentford yet until I watch them without Tony. I expect him to play off the right with Wissa in the middle and Schade on the left. And I'm not too sure how good their pivot is going to be this season. As such, I think they might have a few problems going forward.
Okay.
So I just want to see there. But between him and Matoma, the only reason I'm going for March is I like the fact that the ownership difference is so big. I think the last time I checked it's 37-3. And I don't think that's very reflective of the difference in quality of the asset. I assumed it should probably be a bit closer. And I'm kind of happy to take a punt there.
I like that. I like that way of thinking of things, because a lot of people would, a lot of people, and also me, would be more like, okay, we've got to be a little bit cautious here. Matoma's at 40%, 37%. Is it silly to go with someone like a March? But you're seeing the upside there, which I rate. So we have a lot of money still to be spent, even though we haven't done the defenders yet. The Arsenal slots are done. So that means no Jesus. Let's get into the forwards.
Well, I've got the big man up top.
Of course.
I should have gone with him at the start of last season. I actually met him when I was on holiday before he ripped up the league. Yeah, and I probably should have.
And you didn't put him in your team?
Yeah, I know.
That is disrespectful.
I know.
That's karma right there.
Yeah, exactly. Even my sister said I deserve that.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Yeah. But this season, I'm not making that mistake. He's in. I just don't really see the upside going elsewhere. That particular 1.5 million you'd spend elsewhere by getting Kane, it doesn't actually get you too much, just given the way it's structured. Because there's not many players in that tier 2 bracket. So I'm just going Haaland, and I think it speaks for itself.
Sure, absolutely. Let's move on.
And then the last starting spot goes to Nkunku. I've watched this guy quite a bit, and he's a really, really good player. He has a lot of things about his game which I really like, and I think are very well suited to adapting to the league, including he's good with his back to goal. He's good in touch tight situations when the defender gets really tight. He's got good finishing. If he was a midfielder, to be fair, I think the fact that there's not a surplus of forwards at the moment probably makes it a good thing, actually. And I think with Chelsea's fixture on being so good from 2-3 onwards, he can get a lot of points, and he can be quite a safe and sure bet with someone who has a high ceiling, and penalties as well. I think he'll have them.
Okay, you say that with your Chelsea kit on. We'll have to wait and see what the AI think about that, whether that's a little bit of bias or not. I don't know. I'm a Chelsea fan as well, and I've got to say very excited about Nkunku, especially looking good in pre-season so far. Okay, so that is the starting 11. Let's round things off with the bench. You say you have a little bit more cover there. You still have 14 million to spend.
So I've got my favourite differential of the season so far in the first spot, and that's Ben Chilwell.
Oh my goodness. I did not expect that. I mean, I know you got a lot in the bank, but there we go.
I've got Ben Chilwell on the bench.
It.
Yeah, I think so. I was actually thinking about this, and in terms of Poch's build-up, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of goes with 3 centre backs to build, with one being Colwill, the one being Reece on the right side, and then maybe Badiashile in the middle or Thiago Silva. I prefer it to be Badiashile, but it can be either. And given that, I think he might actually have a somewhat similar role to Danny Rose, where he bombs forward and overlaps the left winger. The thing is, if Nkunku plays on the left, because I've seen some variations where Nkunku plays on the left and we have a different 10, then Chilwell will constantly be overlapping Nkunku because he'll just operate in the half spaces. And I think he scored a really good goal yesterday. And we've seen it in the past that he can do this before he got injured. Yeah. So he's someone I really like. With the fixture run and the ceiling that guy's got, I'm bullish on him.
Yeah, it's one of those where you see the opening couple of games, you're like, well, it's a wait and see. But obviously only get one extra free transfer per week. It's a sort of man that you can just leave on the bench. And as you say, that game week 3 fixture run, when you already have 2 Chelsea players in, maybe Chelsea are in good form. That looks very, very aggressive. I love it because Chilwell's ownership only at 5%. A good number of differentials in here. A lot of money on the bench to have a 5.5 million player on the bench. You're sacrificing something in the first 11 there, but maybe it's the play. Looks good. Yeah. Okay, then let's round off the team.
And then the rest is basically just save all my money. So I've got Bell at 4 million, and I've currently got Osula. Apologies if I mispronounced that, but I've got him at 4.5 up top simply because I don't think I'll ever need triple Sheffield United. And I'm not too worried about my 15th player ever having to get a minute. So I've got them too so far.
Yes, there he is. Had to search that name there, but I found him. Okay, that is the team. And I've got to say, first of all, I love it. It's different. Yeah. I haven't seen much Chelsea coverage at all. I feel like perhaps Nkunku is the only one that is getting into some drafts, but that is great to see. So then, this is the moment that you've been waiting for. Yeah. Perhaps, I don't know. Here it is then. What do you think? What do you think you're going to get? It's a different sort of team. For a team rating, what do you think? How do you think we're going to do?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too fond of my March pick over Matoma. I don't think it's going to be too fond of my Chelsea picks. So I'll go like 90%.
It's actually a lot higher than that. It's actually 95%, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, I'll take
Given
that.
that it's quite a different team. Yeah. I mean, it has the key picks in there. You can't be too different when you have 3 Arsenal, two of the best Man United midfielders, Haaland captain. But yeah, the algorithm seems to like it. Despite going different, it really does look to have paid off for you. 95%, you've got to be delighted, no?
Yeah, no, definitely. I actually had a look at the algo. Because I've been using my team because it's such a great tool, and I knew that it kind of favored City defense, so I thought I'd have a bit of a leeway there.
To be fair, it favors them for a reason. I think the stats will always be really important in the algorithm's thinking or lack thereof. Predicted points of 68 for game week 1. If I offered you that right now, would you take it?
Nah, no way.
Wow.
I don't think it's high enough. I think I think with the 2 home fixtures for the Arsenal boys and the United boys, and with Haaland captain, I can't take that. Especially with my double Brighton having such a good fixture as well. True. I don't think I can take that first week.
Nah, that makes complete sense. Okay, now to round off this video, Jian, we have, of course, some AI recommended transfers for you. Guys, if you want to take advantage of this, put your own team in and then get the Fantasy Football Hub's recommended transfers. The link to sign up is down below. 50% off right now in pre-season, and win your mini league or you get all your money back. How about that for a deal? So, Jian, an interesting pick from the first recommended transfer. Despite the fact that you've already got Stones in your team, it's saying get Edison in for Pickford. Now, obviously on paper that's great, but that has to be funded. But it's saying double up on the City defense. Yeah. How are we funding that? Well, Martinelli goes for a man that you mentioned, Mbeumo. Okay. The algorithm really likes Mbeumo. And then with that 0.5 spare, Nkunku goes to Jesus. So what are your thoughts on that? Edison, Mbeumo, and Jesus in.
I don't think I'll ever allow myself to own Edison, honestly.
Never again.
I think especially this season with City probably playing their 3-2-2-3 again and signing Guardiola, I think scoring against them and creating chances in general is going to be so difficult against them. They have such a good central block of modern day fluidity and prowess mixed with athleticism and just brute physicality. And I think that in itself is such a difficult unit to get past that I can't imagine him getting too many saves. And even in the games where they perform so well, he has a mistake in him. No, I don't like that, especially given that we've seen in the past that if you can get the right 4.5 keeper, that is kind of just the way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also, of course, their XGC numbers are amazing, but they do seem to concede a goal every game. Maybe that is down to the keeper. Maybe it's down to the fact that they're so good and don't have to concentrate too much and they're winning 4-0. Why not concede a goal? Who knows? So, yeah, it's saying to maintain the Arsenal triple up. Jesus, is he in your thinking? He's been in a lot of teams.
Yeah. So I'm definitely open-minded about him and Wembo,
Yeah.
particularly those two. I'm definitely open-minded about it. I've actually gone a few times between either going Martinelli and Nkunku or Foden and Jesus. It's just something about Martinelli that it's more so that I'm bullish on Martinelli rather than I dislike
Yeah.
Jesus, more than anything else. But I think Jesus is definitely a good asset. And
But I
then
can't argue with that. Martinelli ended the season really well last year. Show what he can do. Mate, that was great. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Some phenomenally in-depth analysis, which I always love. If you guys want that regularly, then Jian's Twitter is on screen and also linked down below. You're going to keep doing these weekly threads that seem to be doing so well, getting so much traction, right? They are brilliant, so fair play.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, they'll be there every week. They'll be there every week.
No worries. And also Jian is going to be a bit more regular on the channel this year, doing some videos with me and also appearing on the Green Arrow podcast from time to time. Jian, thank you very much. That was fantastic.
Thank you, pleasure.
And guys, we'll see you all on the next episode.